Hi there, in the name of Christ, it's your girl Cranky. How you doing for the day? I hope you're good, I hope you're peachy, I hope you're stellar, and I hope you're in a neat little bunch. It's the 29th of November 2023 at 19:04 the time. It's really quite unfortunate that I'm rocking up at 19:04 because I thoroughly was trying to not do any work today due to the fact that my edits are I'm behind because of my computer. I think I do need to restart it. I don't know, that might help, but just because I'm backlogged by a day doesn't mean that I must not record what it is that God showed me. Just like yesterday, oh goodness, I'm gonna sneeze. Just like yesterday, I had a dream. Just like yesterday, I had another dream. Very, very, very detailed. And it left me feeling bereft, out of my mind with sorrow. Oh, come on, why you gotta go be done and finished in the beginning of what I'm trying to achieve over here? Anyway, yeah, I was all bereft and full of sorrow. Oh, yeah, look, this before we even, I was bereft and full of sorrow, but I'm here now to talk about that dream that made me bereft and full of sorrow. What? 1 minute? Oh, goodness, no. I'll talk and then I'll go and do something back there that'll improve life. What in the world is going on? Like, what is this color? I'm not feeling it. Shall we speak for like 10 minutes while just kind of settling for this funny little color? The guilt that these people feel, there is no coming out of it apart from repentance. Absolutely. It is written in God's word that God... Yes. Okay, no, we're just gonna keep recording and then for 10 minutes and then we'll I don't know, do a different thing tomorrow. How you doing? Anyway, whatever, let me put some caveats out there. My captions are not always accurate because they're there like a bit. We're not changing anything. Until further notice, one day I'll have editors because we have a future. Secondly, I'm gonna be doing edits in the background. Let that be a caveat, booyah, because I'm behind. Thirdly, I've got issues with what is this? No, not issues. I'm wearing application makeup. Do you like it? Are you schmarking it? If not, whatever, man, you don't have to like it. Besides, it's like an app, so so if at all my brows and stuff bounce every so often, they're dancing, it's an app. Okay, I found this thing to scratch my head with if it's itchy, so I don't mess too much with my head. It's a needle by the blunt end. Yeah, because every so often scalps itch. Moving on, right? And then so let's just get into this dream just like yesterday. Let's talk about this dream that we had. Given that it's 1900 hours, I don't know how much time I'm gonna need to just detail this dream, so let's just get straight into it. I'm tempted to restart my computer because it's so slow, but I don't want to restart it because there's some other process in the background that is doing what it is doing that is going to make it possible for me to continue to do what I do. I see you've been cooking with gas. Lighting. Okay, guys. Oh, yes, what in the world? This lighting. My hair. Have a nice look at it. What? This hair comes from a hair treatment, and after putting it in a plastic bag one night and then in a jug the next, it's come out looking so lovely. So, I mean, really, we don't have to bring down protective styles just to, do whatever is done with hair. Guys, let's just get to the point. I had a dream. I was quite disturbed by that nightmarish encounter. But, whatever. The day has progressed. I was so upset because for me it was how many times must I deal with these miscreants and balloons all over the show? They're exhausting and exasperating, but it's the life we live. That's the only one we got. It's the only one we have. No, I'm not singing, not today. No, I told you guys that my voice makes me cringe, but I gain encouragement from my own content. So if I don't watch my own videos, I'm like wah, 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 inside, and we don't want that. So we're not gonna sing, we're just gonna get straight into this dream. I had this like anomalous dream, and you know, for my life it's not actually all that anomalous or aberrant, because everything is weird in my life, making it the normal as opposed to the exception. But in other people's lives, maybe it might be anomalous. Listen, we're gonna talk about a dream that I had just like yesterday, and we're gonna interpret it together, because I don't know what in the world that dream also meant. And for me, it's like, how low can you go? Ah! How low can you go? Ah! How low can you go? But whatever, do you go low? Listen up, okay? Like, ain't nobody went on right ahead Wayoktuma, as in sent you with like some money and a plastic bag to go uyothenga usatan, to go and buy witchcraft. Nobody sent you. But now that you are here, like suffering from ramifications, you then are trying to subjugate an individual that's been waiting on Jesus to the tyranny of your random thing that you're doing. Roll a porta on that day. So let's just talk. I had a dream. The sooner we get straight into it, the better. This dream, oh goodness lord, where do I commence? Like proper. It was just so busy. There is just, I don't like whatever's happening here. And it's because I think I went for some like color on the screen that is just not representative of my natural color. And the sooner I get to 10 minutes rapping on the beta, the beat, it's just like being bittersweet. Alright guys, you know what, I'm sorry, but the world you manufacture as Wishion, I said I don't want to sing, it makes me cringe to listen to my voice. Yeah, it's not sustainable. Let's just put that out there. The life that you create for yourselves in like Witchcraft Boulevard, not sustainable. You know why? Because then it lays a nation waste. And I had a dream, and even as I'm talking to you guys now, ooh, that tongue, my life thing, that dream, my little scratcher works out. That dream, yeah. Wait, I don't even know what I'm talking about because I'm concentrating on two things at the same time. You know when you're emdlwenguli of the mind, like just stop. Anyway, I'm gonna get to the point. Whatever it is that you do that's kind of dingy, dark, and you think it's lottie-dottie because you like to party, you don't cause trouble, you don't bother nobody, except with witchcraft. Yeah, this thing that you commence, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. How do you like my scratcher? I don't know, like, yeah, every so like, I don't know why my scalp is itchy. After I moisturize, sometimes it is, I don't know. Yeah, guys, like, whatever it is that you're doing in the darkness of night, in the pitch of night, wearing a frock of, like, nefarious tone, not gonna do much for ya. It's just not gonna do much for ya. If you're, like, all devilish and stuff, ultimately it destroys your country. And I'm like, it's your land, you gotta live somewhere. You gotta leave somewhere. I'll actually just grab what you guys remind me of. What's his name? Please give me the name. Ooh, Zoom. I think the name is Zoom. Guys, you know what? I'm gonna like change these settings because I think I've gotten to speak for long enough for me to finally get to almost 10 minutes. Like, I can't do with this color. It was the color that was cooking with gas. Anyway, whatever, I don't even know what in the under heaven I just said, but I said something. Look, we're gonna be doing edits while we talk, but let's just get straight into this dream, otherwise I'm never gonna get into it. What I wanna say is, whatever it is that you do, when you're doing it because you think you're doing it for TV, because you think it's a Sprite ad from 1998, it's not gonna last, okay? It's not gonna work. It's not sustainable, because ultimately you destroy your own country. Like, you know, when you are so totally like shoot the footage type thing, shoot the footage type setup thing. Yes, I did literally just take out Izwape in front of you. Like, when you're out, you're busy shooting yourselves in the foot, and then you anticipate that tomorrow is guaranteed because other people are going to make sure that whatever you did, it does not get to catastrophic levels. Like, you hope that everybody else is literally more sober than you, such that when you destroy, you hope nobody else is doing it. Yeah, that's just the thing about a lack of accountability. Yeah, you destroy an entire nation, an entire ecosystem, because of the fact that you are selfish over people you think are negligible. And so nobody's gonna remember what happened there. Nobody's gonna miss them. Yeah, until they are a whole sample representation of an entire country. And then you realize that you literally devastated your whole country. Cause waloya. That was pretty much what my dream was about, you guys. And I'm gonna explain to you what I saw. It was just so dingy. And much of it I really cannot even begin to describe it to you. I can't explain it to you because, in all frankness, I don't know what in the world I was seeing there. But let's just get straight into it, okay? So it was in a... Okay, so I spoke about a character in a movie, a show on Netflix. There was a time when I was watching The Flash, and there is this guy that was the bane of Barry Allen's existence by the name of Zoom. And Zoom was just so near and hard to defeat. And Zoom had this strategy to basically catapult and decimate all Earths. And leave only, all Earths, pretty much, right? Because he just like had a bone to pick with Earths. You know how it's like a multiverse that has many Earths on it? Zoom was on a mission to decimate all Earths, okay? And then Barry Allen was like busy interrogating him, talking to him on some how you gonna go destroy all Earths. And then Zoom was like, yo, I'm gonna destroy all Earths except for Earth 1 because I need to have somewhere to build a house. He was like, I need to have somewhere to build a house. I need to have somewhere to hang my coat. Those were the exact words. He was like, I need to have somewhere to hang my coat. Okay, so essentially he understood himself as a destroyer. He wanted to destroy the multiverse, right? But then he kept just one universe running, which was the universe of Earth 1, and that was only because he wanted to have somewhere to hang his coat. Alright, yeah, witches remind me of Zoom. They do. They remind me of Zoom. Why? Because they are literally destroying their whole countries and then just like sparing one little section of the country just so they can have somewhere to hang their coat. Just so they can have somewhere to hang their coats. They destroy everything around them. They mess with people's lives. They decimate entire ecosystems, hoping that there's going to be a place where at least they get to sleep at night. They put their faces on a pillow every single night, insofar as, you know, yeah, they've got a pillow, they're good, but everybody else gotta sleep on rocks. Everybody else gotta go back to the Stone Age and sleep in some caves. They are so competitive with their ecosystem. They don't want anybody to succeed. They are full of sabotage of everybody, but they are gonna ruin everything, burn the whole building except their apartment. They imagine that they can burn the entire building where they live and spare their apartment. Well, that's just the thing about fire. It spreads and it's indiscriminate, okay? And so therefore, if you're gonna start one, you filthy arsonist, if you're gonna commence a whole inferno, you ought foresee that it could result in the decimation even of your apartment. But they don't think that way. They don't think that way because they think they are operating in a vacuum. Yeah, they imagine they are operating just them and them alone. They're the witch of the day, moment, year, millennium, and eternity. They are Miss Witch, and so because they've won the title of witch, nobody else gets to do what they do. For real. Like, you think you've Odopi Lewena, eh? Yeah, on the side of the street, got something that nobody else has access to. And so you're gonna be the only one burning an apartment building, except your apartment, honey. If you can burn down your next door neighbor's apartment and the one opposite you and the one on the other side and the one behind you, somebody out here got the same idea as you. Somebody out here in these streets got the same idea as you to basically just burn whatever they can burn, that they might be the only ones shining and stuff. Yeah, so I don't know, you might not put petrol and you could incubate your particular apartment with some burn-proof or fireproof material, but somebody is going to burn your apartment from inside with that fireproof material and everything, allegedly, apparently protecting you from the very destructive thing that you are. Somebody's trying to pull the rug from under your feet. You must get that. Like, there's gonna be someone that wants you destroyed. It's that basic. So you can't spark a fire and imagine you're the only one. Human beings want to believe they're unique. They really do. They want to believe they're these spectacular, special, amazing beings that don't nobody compare to. But according to the scriptures, we're all just one big fat clump of nasty. The human heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Not some humans, literally all of them. We are born dead in trespasses and sins. And instance that our parents conceive these nefarious beings as these, and so therefore we all just kind of do the same thing. We're slaves to sin. Like, all we can do is just repeat history, right? Yeah, those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it. So I guess you don't know history, do you? Because look at you repeating it. We just keep on doing the same thing over and over again. The devil has such an easy time with us because he doesn't even have to study, you know, much in order to gauge what to do in an ecosystem. He just needs to pull out some like old content and deceive the lecturer who is marking his script into thinking it's his own writing. He is the perfect plagiarist of history, except he knows how to like super duper paraphrase without citing the source. He is a repeater of cycles, alright? Keeps on going back to the drawing board, reinventing the wheel, because he knows that people don't research, they don't study, they don't read, they don't do what they need to do in order to not be deceived. And if you're not doing whatever you need to do to not be deceived, the devil is going to be like, I mean, really, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So upon him saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, he's going to be like, whatever strategy I've always used, just tweak it a little, put it in 2023 like garments, put it in like a ribbon of 2023, and then just kind of give it to that witch. They'll do exactly what their grandmother did in 1948. Like, it's probably not gonna happen. Like, that's just it. And they just go and they do it. And the same thing that brought calamity in grandmother's township, they'll bring a community and calamity all up in your suburban townhouse complex. Like, there should be a difference between the activity happening in a rondavel in the Blasies versus in some brick and mortar structure called Santon. But you are just doing the same thing, chanting, grunting, inhaling impepo, and sneezing as a gentrified female living in some skyscraper in Santon. It's like, girl, you still your grandmama now, ain't ya? What are the colors that I'm using here? It's gray and white. Better work. Yeah, that's what's good. Whatever, guys, I'm trying to like multitask at this point. Humanity, whoa, Agent Smith was correct with you. You're like a virus, okay? Now you just multiply and multiply until every living resource is consumed. Morpheus. Yeah, no, you're like a virus proper. You just destroy, and you destroy just the same way that your grandmama done destroyed, and your grandmama's grandmama, and the grandmama even before that. There's just no catching a break with this ancient, like, sinful conglomerate called human beings. You think you are modern, you've arrived, but you're literally the same nasty little lever hixie that your oma and your opa were. Like, you just are, okay? And so granted that you're just as nasty as your oma and your opa, like your oma and your opa, you are just destroying your country, making sure it gets sanctioned. That's what's good. And it doesn't matter that your oma and your opa were white. But you're black. Bottom line is your forefathers and your countries did the same thing to put your countries in the same grain that it's been going through for like eons and decades and what have you. We've never been around for eons, but you get my point. You keep repeating our forefathers' mistakes. So no, you're gonna be destroyed just like your forefathers. It's just like inevitable. But now you think you humanity anticipates it's different. So yeah, they remind me of Zoom, that nasty Flash guy that was out here thoroughly trying to steal Barry Allen's power and potency. Guys, you are Flash. You think you can destroy around you and carefully burn a fire so that it does not come to your side of the woods. Have you ever heard of wind? Yeah, it's ubiquitous and it's near on impossible to avoid. It's just kind of blowing your effects to like other neighborhoods and maybe even your own backyard. And this is pretty much what my dream was showing. These people were like Zoom trying to hang up their coats on Earth 1 after however destroying the multiverse and imagining that Earth 1 is not somehow going to also burn from the incendiary endeavors of Zoom. My dream commenced, guys, in this, like, it was an apartment building, but you know, every single time when the Lord is showing me a ubiquitous challenge or issue, challenge is just such a euphemistic term. Ke problem, ke issue, ke danger, gevaar, kotsi man. Anyway, yeah. This danger gevaar ngozi that we were going through, yeah, it thoroughly has its roots go ANC. So if at all you look at, what do you call this thing, back in the day, my cousins and basically the mom and dad, my uncle, my aunt, and my 2 cousins used to live in this flat in downtown Johannesburg that was opposite the ANC building in downtown Joburg. You know, the one that is opposite Nord taxi rank. I forgot what they call that building, but it was an ANC building. It was ANC headquarters or something. I don't know if it's still ANC headquarters. It was not only ANC headquarters, but it also had like a medical center there, and I think it still might be a medical center to this day. At Lista building, Lista, right? They call it Lista building. Yeah, that building also housed like basically the headquarters of ANC. They might have moved ever since then, because downtown Joburg, you know, people are kind of gravitating away from that place now. But anyway, whatever. Yeah, go Lista building. My cousin and her family in the 90s, early 90s, they used to live in a block of flats, a town, a skyscraper, a very long, well, could have been a skyscraper. It was about like 11, 12 floors. That might not count as a skyscraper, I don't know, but it was quite tall. When you're little, everything feels tall. This skyscraper that my cousins were living in was opposite Lister building, and it was during apartheid was over, but there was still a lot of resistance, a lot of war. There were still people who were trying to prevent progress with the new democracy. I can't really say that Nelson Mandela was already president, because that was 1994. So if it was after 94, then maybe Mandela was already president. I don't know, I can't recall, but it was in the 90s. And my cousin and I were born in 1984. So I guess like we're like, what, 6 in 1980, 7, 8, 9. We were so young at the time. We were in primary school. Yeah, but yeah, we went, yeah, it was, I don't know, I can't say that it was before 94, because we may or may not have been 10 years old already. Maybe we were, maybe 11, 12. If we were 11, 12, then it was after 94, but it was still got 95, 6, right? You know, the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa is an act, yeah, 96. There was still a lot of resistance in any post-oppression regime that rises. There will always be militia groups that are still resisting the change. And that was still going on in that early stages of democracy. There was still a lot of resistance from white groups that kind of wanted the grain to be maintained, and also black on black violence that wanted the power, right, instead of it being the ANC type thing. So there was a lot of, you know, tumult in the sky. It was safe but not safe enough. It was simmering down, the violence, but it was not completely gone. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. Yeah. So my uncle and aunt, who now lived in this building, one day, right, they out here living on the, I think at the time they lived on the 9th floor. They ultimately moved to the 12th floor of the same, or 11th floor of the same, what is this, block of flats, whatever you want to call it, right? One day, one fateful day, poof, an explosion just kind of like went off, like a poof. All right, and this explosion, because it happened, the ANC building was being bombed, right? Lister building, they were targeting it. They wanted to bring it low. Remember, I said it was like the beginning of democracy, so people wanted to uproot the ANC. And if at all you can bomb the building where they operate, you can also kill some of the officials that will ultimately run the country, blah blah blah. Like that resistance struggle of change. Bombed the ANC building, right? Their bomb, however, let us praise Jesus Christ, it sort of kind of was glitchy twitchy. It did not do what it was supposed to do fully. It's like it went like, instead of going it went, yeah, instead of going it went, yeah, it was not rightly detonated. Whoever it is that did that job basically failed ever so abysmally. Thank God for that, because if it had actually gone off whoever it is that bombed the ANC building was prepared to endure collateral damage in civilians that were basically living in the surrounding area, including my cousins and my uncle and aunt, blah blah, and everybody that lived in the opposite building. They were prepared to bomb everything around just to get to that particular building. It was also not just an ANC building, it was also a medical center, so they were prepared to kill people in the medical center. They were prepared to kill patients who were going to see dentists and everything. Yeah, and God, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Let's not sing because we cringe. That's what's good. Yeah, but like Jesus Christ had the back of like, I guess, that whole ecosystem, because that's just the thing about a nation that prays, the beginning of democracy. And so therefore the end of apartheid was a holy time for South Africa. The nation was in shambles, but it was en route being rebuilt, and people were supposed to, I don't know, stay with God. They didn't. They went all hard knock pagan and stuff. So because they went all hard knock pagan, look at your country now. You got Zoom, thoroughly imaginative, that he can go on right ahead and build a portion of South Africa, just one spot of it where there's no bomb blasting the ecosystem, while the rest of South Africa gets lain waste by Zoom. You know, when you're an individualist, it's like die dirty rat die. Anyway, whatever, fine. So that's what was going on over there. But God made sure that that particular explosion did not finish what it finished, because if that explosion had bombed and brought to the ground with like what do you call this, rubble and everything, as in like a whole building is on the floor and we have to rebuild, like if it was like a bit of a 9/11 with the Twin Towers, that would have commenced another war. It would have commenced another regime. We came out of apartheid, that bombing and that successful murder of practically like 50% or 70% of the ANC. It would have created civil war on a scale in this country that would have rendered us basically unable to move forward and do what we need to do for at least another 10 years. It would have set the country back. It would have set the country back. If that bomb had succeeded, it would have set us back from what it is that we did, because those were headquarters, the ruling party of the country that was at the time dearly beloved by everybody and the hope of the land. It was the hope of the country. Do you understand? To get us all out from this like rat that we are in of insanity and racism. Yeah, that was the thing that was signed on a dotted line to recover us from the incendiary insensitivity of apartheid. And now they had bombed and killed everyone that was the change that we were now looking forward to, you know, experiencing in the future. Yeah, remember I told you the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa is a bill or an act that was finalized and signed by the president in 1996. So it would be like, what, 2 years before then? Maybe it was at that time still being drafted and what have you, and finalized, and it would have basically stopped that. If not stopped it, but, you know, put a damper on it. It would have slowed things down, you guys. You know, down. It would have slowed things down and regressed everybody and made sure that millennials in South Africa and Generation X kids were gonna be just like their parents, just struggle, freaking heroes. They were gonna in and of themselves be Hector Peterson. We were not gonna be spared what our parents went through. We were gonna have to fight again, do you understand, and be regressed, and there's gonna be more international intervention and all these like talks and people being found, and what it was just been drat. Yeah, so God Almighty, that you now today are pausing so much shade. How ungrateful are you? You're like a child that hates cruciferous vegetables. Don't you know that they're the only reason you're even growing, you brat? Anyway, whatever. South Africa was a kid that hated cruciferous veggies, but not at that time. At that time, they appreciated cruciferous veggies. They were actually eating their cauliflower and broccoli like it was sweets, okay? And because they were eating their cruciferous veggies, the bomb was like, as opposed to bringing down a building like the Twin Towers were brought down, the building, rather, by the amazing grace of God, just had a little bit of a glitch in the electrical circuit, and some windows were blown out. Indeed, wherever it is that the random buffoon or bunch of buffoons that put that bomb in that general vicinity. They were, I guess, not the best architects. They were not the best they were not the best logistics experts, you know, like proper. What words are we looking for here? Logistics, that's the one, right? They were not the best logistics guys, and so they did not know how to place a bomb so as to actually decimate an entire building. They failed abysmally. It did explode and it did do some damage, but I don't even think there were any fatalities, and if there were, it was a negligible number. It did cause a retaliation indeed, because who would not retaliate against such an attack as that? But it did not result in a civil war. It did not result in basically righteous indignation in a land that thought they had come out of darkness, but people were still trying to regress them. It caused people to be sad, disquieted by this thing that's happened. But you know what? People don't want progress, but progress is going to come whether you like it. At least children didn't die. At least families were not laying waste. At least human individuals got to breathe another day. At least no one died. I don't even think it had fatalities, but if it did, it was not that many. And even then, I don't even think there were fatalities, guys. I really, I think I would remember if there were fatalities, if people had passed away. This explosion, when it happened, like I said, instead of it being like, it was like, it pulled a little stunt of that strange nature, and it blew out windows of the people living in the opposite building, and of course blew out windows of the main targeted building, and that's all that happened. People were shook. It happened during the day. It happened, I don't know if it was a weekend or what, when this whole incendiary activity went down, you guys. But everybody got to live to tell the story. There was nobody who had passed away. The biggest damage was on like higher floors, telling me that they were targeting from the opposite building, perhaps also higher floors. Maybe they wanted to eradicate a floor, like a floor in that building. And when that bomb went off, it did indeed shake the ground like an earthquake, but it did not bring the whole building down. The intention was to bring the whole building down with rubble and everything like 9/11, but only small damage was done, and that was due to them resisting. Basically, whoever put that bomb down, I can't tell you. I believe the person was, the people were ultimately apprehended, but I can't tell you who they were because I was not following the news that closely, and neither did I pay enough attention in history because I didn't even like it in school, so I can't tell you, right? That's what's good. My grandmother was following it religiously, so therefore, so you might want to go and ask her in the grave. I don't know. Do you? Okay, yeah. That whole bomb that landed. Oh, wait, see, I've got like lighting issues. I don't know what's good. 1 minute. Maybe it's my computer that's hiding some light. I don't know. Like, how can it be so dark? No, but it's this dark, guys. It's dark because I'm busy doing edits. I mean, what else am I supposed to do? We can't just ignore laugh, you know. Anyway, yeah, that whole bomb. Seriously? No, stop. What is happening? Oh, goodness. Whoa. You know when you just get distracted because you can. Anyway, whatever. That whole bomb scenario, ne? I have seen it so many times in my dreams. And what God protected that whole thing from finishing itself off, because South Africa still loved God. Alright, and they were hopeful for recovery from darkness and the forces that were trying to block the country from moving forward. God was like, not on my watch, no way. Because he was busy answering the prayers of South Africans who had endured a systematic oppression for very long from all races, okay? And they did not want this like system, and they wanted peace, and they had prayed and fasted and groveled and begged at the throne of grace, and God was not about to let everybody regress, everybody like behind 10,000 years. So therefore he basically blocked it. He prevented an explosion from going off that would have taken the country literally 10 steps back after making so many strides ahead. That's what's good. Yeah, South Africa, I don't know, it's like forgotten stuff. Like I told you, those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it. Do you? Condemned to condemnation bunch, like do you? That's what's good. Yeah, so given that South Africa has entirely and comprehensively forgotten and Jesus, you've totally forgotten that he got you out of apartheid. He heard your prayers. He prevented bombs from finishing the job that bombs were supposed to finish. Yeah, that were trying to prevent progress in South Africa, that were trying to grab latter part Generation X, beginning of millennials, from actually grabbing futures and doing a different thing than their parents. The parents had struggled. It was now our turn to basically start building this like country after it had, you know, endured what it is that it endured. I'm blinded. I'm blind. I'm blind. I'm blind. Ugh. Oh goodness. Yeah, no, South Africa had not blocked, what you call this thing? The Lord blocked those who opposed change from basically destroying the building blocks of a beginning of a new tomorrow type thing. That's why that bomb did not go off the way that it was supposed to. It only shattered some people's windows, but it did not lay families waste. It did not cause mournfulness. Goodness gracious, that bomb, if it was successful, guys, that whole building would have come down. It would have likely caused the earth to tremble and therefore hurt everybody on the ground. Downtown Joburg is usually very, very busy. It would have hurt people, taxi rank. It would have hurt people in that building where my cousin was staying. They could have died, basically. My uncle, my cousins, and everybody were home, and yeah, boom, boom. There it is, that the bomb out here goes off, and next thing, stuff is on the news. Yeah, and I'm like, hey, wait, my cousins live there, blah, blah. You know, my cousins as well was like, well, you know, they when my grandmother called, they were like, yo, who batung, this is, ooh, ah, batung. Yeah, just like a whole bunch of panicked, frenzied people. But they lived. So basically, I could have lost that whole family. My cousin, my uncle, my aunt, the sister, the two sisters, yeah, they all would have died in that one sitting because of that act. You know, there would have been casualties of war, or of a resistance, a rebellion against change, and a change of which was very, very much needed in the country. And it was also being manufactured, it was being built. It, like, structures were already in place to make sure that things continue to proceed in the right direction, and then boom, building out here exploding. That whole scene, that whole dream, that whole thing that actually did happen in those years in the 90s. Yeah, no, guys, I keep on getting dreams of that building or that whole establishment, that whole historical event. It just keeps on rewinding in my unfortunate, what do you call this thing? Spiritual gift. And I'm like, again, like, it keeps on knocking on my spiritual gift, and I'm just so like, ugh, guys, drat. Like, I don't know what to think anymore. Like, South Africa, go on, do you, met your rebellion something? Do you, met your idol worship something? Do you, met your, I'm a spoiled brat kid now that my dad has made millions, and I've forgotten about the struggle? Do you? Even the leadership of this country that actually went through the struggle, they don't remember jack of what they went through. Like, it's like they never dodged bullets. Out here standing with freaking Palestine. Anyway, whatever. Do you? They're like literally unraveling the country and stitching it. The very land that they fought to free, they are unraveling. And I'm like, you know what? Do you? You cannot for the life of you expect that you operate in a vacuum where you can individually be so destructive against your own nation's people and expect that somewhere, somehow, you know, that is not gonna come catching up with you. Like, you can't fathom it, guys. Like, proper. I don't know how you think, but I guess it's just, you know, futility. It's a historical repetitive issue in the human race, so I guess we're gonna just leave you alone in Future Boulevard. Yeah, like, ooh, I don't want to hear my own voice. Yeah, okay, we're not gonna sing. I keep seeing that whole scene repeated, like, over and over and over again. in dreams, but the dreams that I get are often with a message, each of them, and I got yet another one last night, and we're gonna wrap on. So I understand why the dream was in the context of that. So now that you understand that historical little story that I explained over much too long, only because I'm distracted and I struggle to multitask, apparently women got that down. I guess I'm different. I'm every woman, I suppose. Eyeshadow is Mystic. I think we'll stick with it. Lipstick is Ass Extra. Okay, yeah, guys, yeah, okay, you know what, now that I am about to do the last step of my edits, I'll be able to concentrate, yeah, on what I need to say. I'm probably not even gonna get this stuff out today. I'm just like so fra. I'm so fra. I'm so fra. I'm like, is it Van Damme in Total Recall when they fall into that sand and they start to have their eyes popping out and they're like, and then their eyes are almost coming out. That's how fry I am, but because I belong to Jesus, I also recover before I'm dead. Okay, anyway, fine. So now we can concentrate. Now we can focus on what we need to talk about. Yeah, okay. Where's my little scratchy thing? That's what's good. Instead of patting your weave, lady, just use a needle. Okay, cool beans and bananas. Hey, guys, that dream, let me just tell you the dream now. It was in the context, in the scene of that. Like, you know how dreams are weird in the sense that you could be at one geographical location, but find yourself in another geographical location, but all at the same time. Like, it's all happening in lockstep. Yeah, it's weird like that. Like, you're in two locations all at the same time, or you are in a house that is a combination of two homes that you know. Yeah, that's what it was like in this dream. All right, it was in the setting of my cousin's flat where they used to stay in downtown Joburg, right? So the sectional title that I was living in was like those flats in downtown Joburg, but they were modernized in the sense that it was now a newer, like, where it is that I would have lived instead of, like, that was back then. Like, I would never live in downtown Joburg now because it's just a mess currently. Do you understand? It's been kind of decimated type establishment thing because that's just what black people do when they move into a place. Let's just move on. Anyway, cool beans and banana peels. Here it is that I was, this whole scene starts in downtown Joburg. When I was really suffering, struggling, going through a minute, like at the very beginning of the loss of everything of mine, right? I was living in an apartment in Lone Hill, Four Ways, right? And I was renting them. I had to get out because I stopped getting a salary. And then I moved back home with my mom, and my mother was treating me so badly, like trash, with my little sister at the time had yet to start treating me horribly, but I was just really enduring a lot of persecution and I couldn't deal. I was extremely miserable, such that when I got my pension money, given that I didn't expect, for crying out loud, to be unemployed for a decade, almost 10 years. I've been unemployed for 9 years, right? It'll be 10 years next year. I did not expect that my life would be in this rut 10 whole years later. I didn't expect my whole future would be pulled from underneath my feet. Do you understand? So I told myself that I can't stay with my mom. She is abusive and full of coercion. She is persecuting me for my faith, and this is a very hostile environment and I will never thrive in it. So I ended up moving back to Four Ways, where I pretty much liked the neighborhood. I had enjoyed living there when everything was still okay. So for me it was like, if I'm gonna move anyway in Joburg, let me go where it is that I'm probably gonna stay anyway once I get a job again. So literally planning on getting a job again, because I was a whole young professional with expertise. I did not expect that I would be dry for a decade, guys. So I made a risky decision, but one nonetheless that I imagined would pay off, where it is that I told myself that I am going to grab my pension money, my payout, and take a chunk of it and basically put down a year's rental on an apartment. A year's rental on an apartment, because it would, at that stage, I imagined, take no longer than a year for me to get my life back again, for me to get a job again. It was impossible that I would be unemployed, Mina, for longer than that. I just did not see how that could feasibly happen. I mean, it's a reasonable way to think. I could not stay with my mom. Yeah, so I got an apartment still in Four Ways. It was a 2-bed, and upon getting that apartment, I was planning for a future. So the apartment that I had initially in Lone Hill, Four Ways, was a 1-bed, right? This time around I got a 2-bed because I had plans on buying a home later on, and I was never gonna buy a home that was less than 2 bedrooms because I feel like a 1-bedroom apartment is a waste of money. It has to be able to house a small family, a starting out family, a newly married couple. I also did not want to face a future where I'm renting out my property to students because they can destroy a house. I once had my mom's friend's son move into an apartment that I was living in that was fully furnished, and because the landlord that was above us, because he was trying to take away our deposit because of the fact that we were moving out literally without notice type thing. The reason we were moving out, of which is my boyfriend and I, we were in hard times. Not hard times financially. I couldn't stand him. He was annoying the living daylights out of me. I told you guys that my mom once kicked me out of home, and my ex-boyfriend agreed to band together with me financially, and so we ended up getting an apartment even though we weren't ready to live together. Well, yeah, no, absolutely not ready to live together. He was just a menace. I couldn't stand him, and I don't even know why we didn't break up at that stage. We did break up, but we eventually got back together again. I was living with my ex-boyfriend and I hated it, so I wanted to move out, like, as in immediately. There was no way under heaven that I was trying to stay in that apartment a month and give this guy a whole bunch of notice first. I didn't want to do anything of that nature. I just wanted to get out. And so this landlord was trying to keep my deposit, and the deposit was mine and not his. It wasn't my boyfriend's. I wanted all of that money, and the landlord then was like, if you can find me tenants on time before you leave, I will give you your deposit back. So that's exactly what I did. Then I located a tenant. We were living in Reimsig. Reimsig is near Monash University, and so that boy used to attend Monash University, and he my mom's best friend, that was her son, and she was like, my son, you know, I would be great for him to live near school, and he can move into your apartment where you were staying with your boyfriend. What is this? And they will pay you the rent. I will give you all the money. I will be the one to pay it. Because the mom was the one that was giving me the promise, I trusted that indeed the money would be paid. 1 minute. Because the mother was the one that was making the promise, I trusted that the money would be paid, and that this guy was not gonna mess with my credit rating, because if you default on payment for rental, you could be put on the credit bureau by the landlord. So I trusted that the mother would not do that to me, and indeed that did not happen. But we moved in some very messy, like, boy, like some unkept child, into that apartment. I left because the agreement with the mom was that they would move in and basically live with our furniture. It would be this boy and his friend, right? That apartment was a 1-bed. There was no other bedroom. It was a 1-bed, but he was gonna live there with his boy. And I don't understand how 2 guys can live and sleep in the same bed, but whatever. That's what they were planning on doing, sharing, the 2 of them. And I left my furniture there, everything, the bathroom, the toilet, everything, the bathroom carpets, everything. I left my bed with the bed linen that was on there, but I took everything else that was mine, my bed linen, clothing. We took things like clothing and whatnot, but dustbins and everything, and couches and televisions, that we left. And the mother was like, I promise I'll take care of it. We will take care of it. We will keep your place in a neat bunch. Yo, guys, these people lived in that unit for the remainder of our lease, which was basically about 7 months. All right, I was living with my ex in that apartment for about 5 months, and I couldn't stand him, and so 7 months was left. They lived for the remaining 7 months. After the 7 months, I then had to go and get my furniture out from that place. And guys, I don't know how much I threw away. It was so disgusting. It was so grimy and so incredibly disgusting. And yeah, so basically ever since that experience with that young man from Monash University, I made a decision that for the life of me, I will never rent my apartment out to students, like ever. I will never ever rent out any of my properties to students, because they basically trashed the place, my things, and the apartment. Like, the landlord had to repaint. It's like, what were you doing over there? Type establishment thing. So yeah, I therefore moved, when I moved into that apartment in 4 ways on my pension money, which was quite a lot, okay? Yeah. When I moved into my new apartment, I insisted on a 2-bed because I knew that once I get a job, I was going to get a mortgage loan for a 2-bed apartment because I had plans for investment in real estate. I was going to have my first home be a 2-bed that I would then ultimately move out of and rent it out to some young newly married couple or whatever that would I guess be living there for a couple of years with their firstborn child, taking the 2nd bedroom type thing. So I purchased for myself an additional bedroom suite, but I already had like enough furniture for a 1-bed, right? Extra things I needed for extra things that I needed for a 2nd bedroom, that's the only furniture that I bought, but otherwise everything else I did already have. And my apartment, right, it was in 4 ways. This 2-bed, it was very spacious. It was incredibly just gorgeous. It was beautiful. I've recorded a lot of videos on YouTube that I've put up where I'm recording from that apartment, but I have privatized them. Perhaps one day in the future I might avail some of the videos for your perusal type establishment thing, and you will get to see the apartment. It was just this beautiful, spacious apartment with 2 beds, 2 beautiful bedroom suites, a lounge, and a dining room suite. It was like, whoa. I had these gorgeous robust design couches. Why am I saying have? I guess they're in storage now, whatever. This like my apartment, the glory and the beauty of it is there. I'm not speaking things that I'm pulling out of my imaginations, like thoroughly. Even in 2023, at the time it was like 2015, right? 2015, 16, 15 more or less. Yeah, and the standards are pretty much still the standards of my apartment are still pretty upmarket for even 2023. That's what I'm trying to explain to you guys. It was a very beautiful modern apartment, even when I was moving out, unfortunately, because a whole year progressed and I didn't get a job. That did happen to me. The real estate agent who came to basically, you know, help out with the whole what do you call this thing, viewings thing, when he came first to see the apartment just by himself, he was like, whoa, like you have very excellent taste, you know. And I was out just smiling, trying to like swallow my tears and whatnot, because I guess you can't let everybody know what sorrow you are enduring. But yeah, I lived really very beautifully. I had an upmarket lifestyle. Even my landlord, when he came to like correct a snag of sorts at that apartment, was like, whoa, like I've never seen my apartment looking like this. Like you've got really great taste. And that was not the first landlord to ever comment like that. Even the one before in the 1-bedroom apartment was just like, whoa, what beautiful taste. Like you've got away with like their apartment. I never imagined that anybody could ever decorate my apartment like this. Okay. Yeah, so I was living in this luxury upmarket apartment at 2-bedroomed in 4 ways that was very spacious. It was 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. I had an ensuite in the main bedroom and a bathroom, the main one that is like, you know, unattached to any bedroom. I had 2 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms. It was very spacious. Like, you know that your house is spacious when it has a passage. That house has that apartment had a passage. It was a sectional title complex, right? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful apartment. Unfortunately, however, I was busy doing YouTube videos from there, and I was recording my life from there. And from that space, that place, I didn't have my own Wi-Fi. Initially, I started out buying data bundles because I wasn't smart enough to get a Wi-Fi router. At the time, I didn't think properly. But thankfully, the complex had a clubhouse that had free Wi-Fi. So that's how I was able to upload my YouTube videos almost every single day using the clubhouse Wi-Fi. I also unfortunately purchased a Mac computer instead, or a Mac, like a plug-in Mac instead of a laptop. I should have bought a laptop. If I had bought a laptop back then, all the issues I have today, largely, most of them I wouldn't even experience. My Mac would also not be this destroyed, this slow, this decimated by power cuts. Yeah, if I'd gotten a laptop, but I guess God had his own reasons and his own purposes. I just liked the look and feel of a Mac instead of a laptop, and I didn't even think about this dumb country that was just on a downward spiral. At the time, the power cuts were not that bad, especially if you were in the northern suburbs of Joburg, but it's only gone downhill from there. It's only just tanked. Anyway, whatever. Fine. That apartment of mine, that luxurious apartment of mine that I used to live in 2015/16, it was that apartment the setting of the dream was in that apartment. Alright, but it was also the sectional title ecosystem In other words, the block of flats ecosystem was not the one in Four Ways. It was the downtown Joburg establishment of 1990 whatever, when that bomb went off at the Lister building. That was opposite where my cousins lived. So it's like I was living in a combination of that downtown Joburg sectional title with the luxury apartment I was living in Four Ways. The luxury apartment I was living in an upmarket suburb in Johannesburg. Yeah, that's what's good. Now that you have gotten that out of your hair, allow me to then start to describe the dream. That apartment that I lived in, it was during that year that I was supposed to get everything back. During that year, I was supposed to basically find myself employed again. I was supposed to rebuild my life. I was supposed to forget about the trashy animal that MTN is. I was supposed to basically just move forward with my life and, you know, see what I can do. The level of betrayal that I had endured at the hands of friends and family members, I had already seen it, and I was prepared to let it go behind me. Because how could you do this to me? But now I'm going to go into the future. I'm going to meet a man. We're going to get married. We're going to have children. And I'm going to forget about all you guys. Because look at what you did to me. You betrayed me. But now I know better. But unfortunately for me, I was sharing my testimony. When I was living in that apartment, I was heavily applying for jobs, trying to make sure that I get out of that rut, that hole. Okay, I did not want to stay in that sorrow. I was what is the word that I'm looking for? Pretty certain that I would not stay in it indefinitely the whole year, but I didn't get anything. Do you understand? So why didn't I get anything? Why didn't I get anything? I don't know how many times I've told you guys the Lord has seen it fit to keep me looking like I'm under a curse in order to show South Africa what under heaven it is that they did and why they deserve what's coming to them. What's next? The Lord did not salvage me because the country was in sin, and so it was not his prerogative to bless a nation on behalf of a people who prayed, because there were not enough of them. The country had to be decimated in totality. Apartheid. Let me just move on.